Hi, I'm Michelle Lewis.
And I'm Craig Lewis.
And this is the Running Tales podcast,
which is all about this.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lewis. 10 years ago, you'd have been lucky to see me run to the end of the road. These days, running is second nature to me. From marathons to parkruns to putting my own running group through their paces. You'll often see me in suitably loud attire, getting ready to pound the pavements. And here's a secret. If I can do it, you can too. There's so many wonderful and inspiring stories in the world of running. And not just running, some of my favourite tales involve those who take to their wheelchairs, bikes or simply their own trusty feet in an attempt to get fitter, faster or just have some fun. In this podcast, I'm going to be in conversation with some of the most inspiring and fascinating of these people. Remember, it's your time, your speed, your way. The only person you need to keep up with is yourself.
Welcome to Running Tales. If you're a regular runner and you're someone who loves your park run, you can't have failed to have missed the amazing story this week of 92-year-old Arthur Walsham. It's been all over the BBC and other places. Despite his more senior years, Arthur completed his 300th park run recently at Longford Park in Stretford near Manchester. It made Michelle and I think of the story of our very own Bob Emmerson, local legend at Northampton park run where we go to. And we thought this week on Running Tales we'd go back and have another little look at Bob's story. Michelle spoke to Bob in July last year, and at that point he'd completed the 5k parkrun 399 times. He's reached that 400 now, he's approaching 450. We thought we'd play his interview from back then in case you've missed it, because it really is worth listening to Bob's fantastic story.
Well, when I was about 15, I joined a club called Gosforth Harriers. That's in Newcastle, and I run quite a lot. And then I did my national service, and I ran during my time in Egypt. We had cross country and track races, and when I finished my service, I was 20. I had a job where I had to work on Saturdays, so I didn't have a chance to carry on running until things changed and we had races on Sundays. And when I was about 44, I was working for the Nationwide Building Society, and they had an annual run, a sort of a cross country. So I said, I think I could do that. So I went along and I had a good run there, and I got into a club. I want to do this regular. Did a few races with the veterans. This was a local club called Rugby in Northampton. After that, I got into a state where I wanted to run every day. I ran every day. I ran races every other week. I started off running a half marathon, and then it got to let's do a marathon. So the marathon came, and I had a good run there. We had a marathon at Swinderby in Lincolnshire. They said to me, "What sort of time are you going to do?" I was about 48 by this time. I said, anything between 3 hours and 4 hours. So I did the mileage. I trained every Saturday or Sunday. I did a 20-mile run, and then we had the race, and I did 3 hours 2 minutes.
Oh wow!
And everybody said, "Crikey, that's a bit of a shock." First marathon, 3:02:30 it was, and I felt I could have run a lot quicker. I was so comfortable.
Really? Oh wow! When
I finished the run, I ran through the finish, and my wife was stood there, and I ran on. She said, "Where are you going?" I said, I'm gonna have a cool down and run a bit further.
You are Forrest Gump.
So that was it. And when can I get another marathon? Well, we had London, the first London. So I put my entry in, £1 to run. That's all it was in them days, £1. So I'd done a couple more marathons, but London was a big event, And the first marathon that they had there was only about 6,000 in it. Matt Sharples was there, the old girl, 65-year-old, first old woman to run a marathon. So I did 2:52. That was a PB for me. I'd done under 3 hours several times after that. And then it got to a stage where I think I could run further than a marathon. So we had a race in Scotland called the Two Bridges. It starts at a place called Kincardine, and they run along the first force until you get to a place called Kincardine. You cross that bridge, you run back until you get to the big bridge, the fourth bridge, and you run through that, and then you get to the finish, which is where you started, 36.2 miles. So I did the bridges, and I had a good run there, no problem. Next year, the big race for runners that want to do a distance, London to Brighton. So
is that the first ever London to Brighton?
No, it had been going for 50 years. So I put my entry in and I did the London to Brighton. Had a good run there. The first time I realised that I was a little bit special as far as distance is concerned was when the Roadrunners Club of England said they were having a 100k race at the Crystal Palace. 100k, 62.2 miles. So I said, would you like to come? I said, yeah, I'll come along. So we went down to Crystal Palace, and I got to the start, and there was a fella there that were doing the timing, and he said, what about these world records? This was for an over 50. And I said, I don't know, what are they? And he said, well, there's several records. You might be able to break the records, which are for old men. They're not proper records. The world record for 100k on a young man is just over 6 hours, which is 10-minute miling for the whole of the race. So I said, well, we'll see how it goes. Well, when I got to 30 miles, he said, world record, world best. So I carry on. I say 50k, which is 31 miles, another record. Carry on running, feeling good. 40 miles, another record. 50 miles, another record. 62 miles, 100k. By this time, I'm in the lead.
Wow. So how old was you?
I was 50 or 51, I can't remember which. I'm in the lead, and I finished the race, and I've had 5 world bests, as what they call a world best.
Yeah.
It's a world best for a man of that age. And so I said, I'm a world beater.
You are, officially. Wow, you kept that. I've never heard that story before. That's amazing.
So that was it.
You truly are a legend.
And so that year, I was the Road Runners champion of Great Britain for everybody, all their runners. I was their 100k champion, and it was mainly because there was no other better runners in the race. But I was 50. What else can I do? Well, 24 hours was the option. You get on a track and you run for 24 hours and you see how far you can go. So I did a few. The first 24 hours I did was in Milton Keynes Shopping Centre in a February, cold winter's day, snow on the ground outside, and we were running 24 hours. And I did 107 miles, which wasn't brilliant, but it was a good start. I progressed through to several 24 hours and ended up with 132 miles.
Wow.
That was the best I ever got, which is not especially good because a first-class run for 24 hours is 140 miles.
You're not that far.
That's what you reckon to do. The world record's about 180 miles. But anyway, I was an old man by this time. I'm over 50, so it's still a good time for an old guy. And then I carried on. I'm getting older, I'm running quite well. I get to run London 18 times and I'm 69. Well, that October my hip started to play up. So I had to have a new hip. After a while I decided that I wasn't going to be able to carry on with the pain. So I had my left hip resurfaced, and the guy who did it said, well, you will be able to run again, but it's going to take time to rest it and let it heal up, which I did, and I left it out for 8 months, and then I started up again and I was running quite well, no pain, metal hip, Birmingham hip, no problem. When I started running, I kept a little note of how many miles I'd run, and I'd read a book about people who'd run 100,000 miles. Ron Hill, who recently died, was the guy who I'd known that had run over 100,000 miles in his running career. So I said, I'm going to do 100,000 miles. When I was 70, my first hip went. I'd done 97,000 miles, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna finish the 100,000." So when the hip got better, I carried on running, and I got 100,000. I ran a race at Market Harborough, a 5-mile race, and as I finished the race, I had completed 100,000 miles in training and running. So what can you do? Carry on running. And I've now done about 115,000 miles. But
do you record every mile that you did? Now, let's be honest, us, recent runners,
yeah,
Strava,
if
it's not on Strava, it doesn't count. But with you, Strava didn't exist when you started running. So have you got a little logbook with...
I've got it all down in a book. All the park runs. On the Saturdays, I did a park run, that was 3 miles. And if I go out today, which I will, it'll be another 3 miles. So I'm not making much progress, but I'm still adding them up. Did a couple more London marathons on the hip until I was 76, and the other hip went.
Oh.
So what do? I have to have it done. So 2 hips, 2 metal hips. I come back after that and I'm still able to run. I was doing less and less because I was about 79 by this time, and parkrun started. My daughter was listening to Radio Northampton and she said they're having a run in the park. It's on the race course. So I said, I think we could do that. A friend of mine who's a regular park runner, Alan Palmer, I said, will you come on? He said, yeah, we'll go down and do it. And it was number 5. It had been on for 4 weeks. So we did the park run and we liked it. So what do? We carry on. He's done over 300, and of course I'm approaching the magic figure.
Yeah.
Well, the 500 would be the best thing you could obtain, but
COVID, blame COVID.
So COVID came along and stopped us.
On 399.
On 399, if it had been on 1 more week, I would have had me 400. I've been down to the race course and ran about 5 times just to see that I can still do it. And every day in Walgrave, I get my kit on and I run 5k just to prove I can still go around. And we're now waiting for the parkrun to start again.
Couple of more weeks, hopefully.
Couple more weeks. I intend to carry on until I can't run, and that's what you've got to do.
So you've done, like you said, you've done some big races in your running career, but as you often say to me, you say, Michelle, but it's parkrun where I get the biggest recognition. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because I talk to everybody, and parkrun is it's not a race, it's a run, and it's such a friendly atmosphere. You make hundreds of friends, literally. I made a lot of friends when I was running proper races, but parkrun has been something else really, and I recommend anybody to come along, and if you can't run all the way, run a bit and walk a bit, which is what I do now.
How do you feel like, when you see Carol in a wheelchair, you see the little kids running with their responsible adults, you see dogs as well taking part, that parkrun is not just about runners?
Well, it is just a determination to keep going. I was watching a bit of telly the other week and the disabled triathlon was on, and some of the people that do the triathlon with one leg or no legs, well, they're the guys who really are amazing. Parkrun is just something that helps everybody get by.
So we often talk, and I know that you've still got every pair of trainers that you've ever run in. Why do you keep all your trainers?
I don't know. I'm a collector of everything. I'm a hoarder, and I'm wearing a pair of trainers now that are about 25 years old. I've got two new pairs of trainers, but I don't like wearing them. I like the old stuff.
So what is your favourite make of trainer? Like you say, you've got a long running career of trainers. Often runners ask each other, especially newbies, what's the best trainer to wear? What has been your best trainer?
Well, the best trainer I ever had was the Reebok, which was a British make, Paris. It was called the Reebok Paris. When I was 50, a guy rang up and said, would you like to come along to Loughborough and do some marathons on the treadmill? And I said, what does it mean? And he said, well, I want to get 7 people to do it. And we do 3 marathons with a month between. And I wore these trainers on the treadmill, ran 3 marathons, and in around about 3 hours. So those trainers have got a special memory for me of running on this treadmill at Loughborough, you see. There's been others, but I've got the lot. I've still kept them, all of them on shelves in the garage.
Oh, I'm glad you said the garage, because your wife could not be happy that you kept every single pair.
Some of them are completely worn out, but I'm not chucking them away.
Oh, you're so sweet. So you always wear the same green Silverstone 10k top.
Yeah.
Now, this top has special meaning, and was it about 2-3 years ago, Silverstone 10k asked you to start the race.
Yeah,
how was that when you got asked?
Well, I've run about 15 Silverstone 10Ks. Some people have run more, but 15 is a good total. One of the guys who organised Silverstone had noticed that I wore their commemorative T-shirt every week when I did the parkrun, and at that I was 85 that year, and I was going to run Silverstone because it would be another age group, you see, 85, and so he got in touch with me and he said, I want you to run our Silverstone race, and I said, yeah, I was going to do it anyway. So he said, right, well, come along. You don't need to pay an entry fee. just come along on the night and we'll get you to start the race. And that was one of the biggest events in my running career, because although I run many races, I stood in front of the whole race with number 1000 on my back and pulled the hooter that started the race. And when everybody had run across the mat, I followed them across the mat and timed myself and finished the race. 2 of our park runners came along and watched me. That was Emma and Zoe, who are regular park runners, and they were there at the finish cheering me on. And that was a really big occasion for me.
Because you had your parkrun family there too.
Yeah.
So obviously we're getting very close now to parkruns starting again. What are you most looking forward to? Just seeing everyone?
Yes, I'm looking forward to standing up, which I no doubt will be asked to do, and possibly having a drink in my hand and saying it was worth waiting for.